John was driving home from work late at night. The road was dark and empty. John was tired, but he was determined to get home. John was driving down a long, straight road when he saw a woman in the middle of the road. He slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. He hit the woman and she went flying through the air. John got out of his car and ran to the woman. He was shocked to see that she was unconscious. John checked her pulse. She was alive, but she was barely breathing. John didn't know what to do. He was all alone on a dark road. He couldn't leave the woman there, but he didn't want to leave his car either. He decided to put the woman in his car and drive her to the nearest hospital. John loaded the woman into his car and started driving. He drove for a few minutes, but he couldn't find a hospital. He started to get worried. He was afraid that the woman was going to die. John was driving down a winding road when he saw a light in the distance. He drove towards the light and saw that it was a small house. John pulled up to the house and knocked on the door. An old woman answered the door. She looked at John and the woman in his car and asked what was wrong. "I found her on the road," John said. "I think she's been hit by a car." The old woman opened the door wider and let John and the woman in. She took the woman to a bedroom and told John to wait in the living room. John waited in the living room for a long time. He started to get worried. He wondered if the old woman was going to call the police. Finally, the old woman came back into the living room. "The girl is going to be okay," she said. "She's just bruised and shaken up." "Thank you," John said. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't helped me." "You're welcome," the old woman said. "But I need to ask you something." "What is it?" John asked. "Who is she?" the old woman asked. "I don't recognize her." John looked at the woman on the couch. She was still unconscious. "I don't know," John said. "I found her on the road." The old woman looked at John skeptically. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Yes," John said. "I'm sure." The old woman shook her head. "I don't know," she said. "Something about her doesn't seem right." John didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to think. "I need to go," the old woman said. "But you can stay here for the night. The girl can stay in the bedroom." "Thank you," John said. The old woman led John to the bedroom and showed him where to sleep. John lay down on the bed, but he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the woman. He couldn't understand why the old woman didn't recognize her. John finally drifted off to sleep, but he was soon awakened by a noise. He opened his eyes and saw the woman standing in the doorway. She was staring at him with her big, empty eyes. John screamed and sat up in bed. The woman was gone. John got out of bed and went to the doorway. He looked down the hallway, but the woman was nowhere to be seen. John went back to bed, but he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the woman. He was afraid that she was going to come back. John finally drifted off to sleep, but he was soon awakened by another noise. He opened his eyes and saw the woman standing at the foot of his bed. She was reaching out for him. John screamed and ran out of the bedroom. He ran down the hallway and out the front door. He ran until he couldn't run anymore. John collapsed on the ground, exhausted. He looked back at the house. He saw the woman standing in the doorway, watching him. John got up and ran. He ran into the night, never to be seen again.